What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. What's cracking, what's cracking, what's cracking? Back with some more Michael Jordan content. Getting back to the Chicago Bulls stuff. I've been focusing a bit on the Washington Wizards stuff lately, but getting back into the realm of the Chicago Bulls. MJ's fadeaway was efficient, beautiful, and unguardable. Signature shots by Michael Jordan from the ESPN YouTube channel. We're about to get into it soon, but I've been on record saying on this channel for God knows how long, but I think Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time. Not my favorite player of all time, but I think MJ is the GOAT. And yes, his fadeaway. Was he the first person to do fadeaways? No. But he took it and brought it to a whole nother level and made it his signature shot, going to it with much regularity. As a Kobe Bryant fan, Kobe Bryant being my favorite player ever, I know that there is no Kobe being Bryant without Michael Jordan. Kobe was heavily influenced by Mike, especially with the mid-range fadeaway game. And Kobe went to the fadeaway jumper much earlier in his career because he had Michael Jordan to pattern off of, while Michael Jordan started using it more later in his career, more than what he was doing previously. But Kobe got to it much earlier and was using it with much more regularity earlier because Michael Jordan had paved the way and shown him how it's done. Michael Jordan's fadeaway collection is unreal. The shot was damn near unguardable. Michael Jordan was extremely strong core, extremely strong upper body. And what people don't understand is the legs, from the toes, the feet, into those legs, is really what helped create space and the ability to do the things he was able to do in the different variants of his fadeaway jumper. He would fill with the defense with his legs, man. Mike's fadeaways, drifting left, drifting right, hanging in the air, triple faking in the air, and then releasing before he hits the ground. It's waiting for defenders to whiz by him while he's in the air and then release. I could go on forever about the different kinds of fadeaways. He was extremely efficient in the mid-range. And just a straight-up assassin, man. Assassin. Footwork, body control, strength, strong arms, broad, strong shoulders. I've said it a million times. Michael Jordan was poetry in motion. Everything he did was so poetic, seemed unreal, and it is just so pleasing to the eyes. Set the numbers aside and, you know, the ability to hit the shots, but how he did it, it was just majestic. And don't get me started on Michael Jordan's ability to move without the basketball. See, people don't take that into consideration. How that dynamically affects and shifts offenses, and more importantly, defenses, when you know how to move, when you are the player of the magnitude of Michael Jordan and you know how to move without the basketball and pin down defenders and get in your positions, find your spots on the floor, keep the defenses shifting even when you don't have the ball. That creates so many more opportunities for your entire team on the offensive end. And you're not monopolizing the ball. And you're conserving energy than being so ball dominant. I'm telling you, man. His movement without the basketball, A1. Kobe did the same thing, obviously, because he learned from Mike. Jostling, fighting for a position, never inactive. Anyway, this has gone on too long. Let's get into this video, shall we?
Michael Jordan became a global superstar largely because no one could fly quite like Air Jordan. But his most clutch baskets came much further from the rim. And his signature shots all came when fading away from demoralized defenders.
Jordan with the fake. Jordan against Finley. Finley stays with him. Jordan pulls up from 20 and scores. And he's not.
Now, he just did that move on Michael Finley. Let me tell y'all, Michael Finley he doesn't get credit. Michael Finley, I did a video on Michael Finley on his channel. Go check it out. Go search for it. Michael Finley actually patterned his game after Mike a bit too. Michael Finley used to go to that fadeaway jumper, much like Cole, much like Jordan. Michael Finley had a Jordan-esque game to him. More so when he was on Dallas.
Let's travel back to April 27th, 1997. Michael Jordan is torching All-Star Chris Webber's Washington Bullets in Game 2 of a first-round playoff matchup. Jordan scores 55 points, equaling his highest output since unretiring in 1995. But it's not just the fact that MJ scored 55 in an important playoff win, it's how he did it. His brilliance that night epitomizes his game at that key stage of his iconic career. Take a look at this vintage shot chart from that night. All those red dots are made buckets, but look a little closer. See where most of them fall? They fall in the mid-range. Think how absurd this would look in the modern NBA. During the Bulls' second three-peat, Jordan won 3 straight scoring titles and was far and away the league's most active mid-range shooter. His go-to shots in that legendary period were not the incredible gravity-defying dunks that marked the early stages of his career, but rather these absolutely gorgeous mid-range jumpers.
Jordan, how graceful off the glass. I mean, he was spinning, that ball just hit it so easy and fell in.
Everybody knows that MJ favored those shots, but looking back at the data from that era reveals something else. Jordan wasn't just the most active two-point jump shooter in the world, he was arguably the most efficient one too. But before we dive into MJ's incredible shooting numbers, let's pause for a moment and revisit the scouting reports from the 1980s, when Jordan was a Tar Heel wearing Carolina blue. Jordan wasn't always a good shooter, let alone a great one. Even though he'd won the 1982 NCAA championship with a fearless late-game jumper at age 19, coming out of college in 1984, the word on MJ was that he was a fantastic athlete with a thin frame and a questionable jumper. Rod Thorne, then the GM of the Bulls, recalled, when we looked at him for the draft, he was 195 pounds and 6'6", so he was kind of thin. So the biggest thing about him was, can he make a shot? We wondered what kind of shooter he'd be. So, what kind of shooter would he be? How about the most fearless, most clutch, and most terrifying jump shooter of his era? How about the player that showed us once and for all, great jump shooters can win both scoring titles and NBA championships? But how did he do it? Jordan heard the chatter, he knew his reputation, and he worked tirelessly to build up his jumper. Years later, Phil Jackson, who witnessed Jordan leverage his maniacal work ethic to transform from a rim-attacking leaper into one of history's best late-game marksmen, said this: "The weakest part of Michael's game on the offensive end was his shooting, so he obviously mastered something that everybody said he couldn't do when he came out of college. And he did it by shooting consistently." Jackson said Jordan identified his weaknesses and vowed to turn them into strengths. It took years and years of workouts, but by the second three-peat, all that work had paid off. Jordan extended his domination by extending his range and by expanding his seemingly limitless arsenal of moves.
Well, you can analyze it all you want, but there's no answer to this. What are you going to do about this? The high jump, the fall-away jumper.
When Jordan sank that iconic dagger to sink the Jazz in the 1998 finals, Bob Costas said it perfectly.
If that's the last image of Michael Jordan, how magnificent is it?
Jordan's magnificence emerged from his endless desire to improve. that fueled him throughout his incredible career to silence his doubters. By the mid-1990s, Jordan had fully morphed into the most lethal and creative mid-range scorer in the world. The numbers are nuts. Let's start in 1996-97, the year of the Bulls' 5th title and the first year the NBA started logging shot location data. Since these were the early days of shot location data, some games are missing from this data set, including 5 of MJ's. But 98.6% of shots in the NBA that season are represented here. That season, 59 NBA players launched at least 300 mid-range shots. Of that large group, Jordan ended up with by far the most buckets. Check this out. That year, Glenn Big Dog Robinson ranked 2nd in the NBA with 391 made mid-rangers. Jordan ended the year with 547. The GOAT was far and away the league's most prolific mid-range scorer, but that's only part of the story. Here's where it gets crazy. Out of those 59 players who tried at least 300 mid-range shots, Jordan also ranked 3rd in efficiency, sinking 49.5% of his attempts. For context, Reggie Miller, commonly regarded as the finest shooter of that era, made 42.4% of his 484 mid-range shots that season. Miller attempted 484, Jordan made 547. 1st in mid-range scoring, 3rd in efficiency. Despite the fact that Jordan's mid-range game required him to constantly take impossible shots against the league's best defenders on a nightly basis. Jordan got to his jumper countless different ways. He could dribble into a quick stop pull-up like this.
Jordan.
He could use a pump fake to shed a defender like this.
He got Hershey Hawkins in the air.
And occasionally, even the GOAT would be gifted with a nice, clean catch-and-shoot look like this. But the defining shot of these mid-90s Bulls was Jordan's iconic fadeaway jumper. Now, make no mistake, Jordan didn't invent the fadeaway. Plenty of post players like Wilt Chamberlain, Patrick Ewing, and Larry Bird were shooting it years before Jordan. However, Jordan transformed the shot into a legendary playground move by making the fadeaway look cooler than anyone else in the history of the game. Jordan's breathtaking athleticism and splendid motor control turned ho-hum back to the basket post-up actions into awe-inspiring artwork. His footwork, his balance, his speed, his poise, and his form were all world-class. And the end result was simply beautiful. Unless, of course, you were trying to stop him. One of his favorite fakes is what he calls the windshield wiper move. It's when he would sell a turnaround jumper toward the left and spring back and instead shoot over his right shoulder or vice versa. This humble little move fueled countless buckets in the late stages of Jordan's career. It also highlights the thoughtfulness behind MJ's greatness. As his incredible athleticism began to diminish into his 30s, Jordan knew he had to keep his defenders off balance. He knew he had to be able to fade over both shoulders. And the windshield wiper was one of his most powerful moves because when he sensed his defender was leaning too far one way, he could flip the script and glide into a crystal clear shooting pocket.
Jay backs in again, fades from 15 and hits again.
Before Jordan, fadeaways were frowned upon by many coaches. You weren't supposed to shoot the ball while moving away from your target. MJ acknowledged that in training videos, but he countered that repetition turned into good habits, which turned into an efficient shot. Like all transcendent superstars, he created new fundamentals. And in the post-Jordan NBA landscape, the fadeaway jumper became a cornerstone of many of the league's greatest shooters. You might recognize some of these fellas. The true legacy of Michael Jordan isn't just his 6 rings or his signature shoes. It's his unprecedented ability to blend his unique and gorgeous aesthetic to dominate the league, win 10 scoring titles, and completely reshape the look and feel of greatness in the sport of basketball.
well put together, all facts there, and I'm glad he regurgitated some of the points that I had made earlier, man. Nowadays, I'm trying to think of people really try to draw these parallels between Devin Booker and Kobe Bryant. And if you're drawing parallels between him and Kobe, then there has to be some type of parallel to Jordan, considering that Kobe's damn near a carbon copy stylistically of Mike, and I just don't see it that much. The person that I always thought reminded me of Mike and Kobe nowadays with the fadeaway jumper and the post was Kawhi Leonard. Problem is, these days, especially these days, Kawhi Leonard just has issues with his knees and he can't stay on the court long. But when he's healthy, he definitely likes to operate in the box area, a low post, mid post, high post, and go to work much like Jordan and Kobe did. Another player that likes to operate in similar ways in today's NBA is Chris Middleton. Likes to operate in a lot of the same areas and goes to that fadeaway jumper a lot, but isn't nearly as good as those other guys I mentioned with it. But I'm trying to think anybody else that really utilizes it. Jimmy Butler does it from time to time, but not as much. I can't really think of anybody noteworthy anyway. But yeah, man, Mike was special. Mike was special. Don't know if we'll ever see anything quite like Mike again, man. Not in our lifetime. Maybe something different, but not like Mike. Kobe was the closest thing, and haven't seen anything even close to Kobe yet, stylistically, in terms of scoring, and he was that close to Mike. Now, the best mid-range jumper today in the NBA? Oh, you know, Bradley Beal used to go to it a bit too. But the best mid-range shooter today in the NBA is by far Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's just now. He don't necessarily go to the fadeaway, but just operating in that mid-range, my Lord. My Lord. I mean, Kevin Durant just made history last season as the first ever player not to enter the 50-40-90, but Kevin Durant entered the 55-40-90 club on predominantly mid-range jump shots for that 55% field goal percentage, man. Like, Durant, just, oh, man. I wish Durant was built like Mike, was built like Kobe, as far as that mentality of being a, for lack of a better word, relentless scorer. Because if Kevin Durant was wired like the Black Mamba or like Mike, oh Lord, we would see scoring like we've never seen before on jump shots. But KD isn't wired like that. And that's scary. And we should all, the league should be lucky that he's not wired like that. Shout out to the Michael Jordan fans out there. Go check out our Michael Jordan playlist. Bah! Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. And I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.